All right, here we are in 13.8. My name is Chris, and this time I've brought both my friends along. First up is Jason.
Good to be here. Shout out to Johnny. I'm sure he would have liked to be here too to celebrate the first Renekton skin we've had in God knows how long.
And my other friend, Nate.
Greetings, fellow trolls and League players.
All right, we got a really small one here, so hopefully we can finish this pretty quick. And let's hop right into it. First change we got, unless there was something at the top here you guys thought was important.
Renekton skin? No, nothing really.
Okay, first up we got another nerf for Aurelion Sol, who's been nerfed almost every patch since his rework. I still think he's amazing though, at the moment. So I don't really think this will slow him down much. So, yeah. What do you think there, Jason?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, these are pretty small nerfs, but once you get to level 18, you're talking 100 health and maybe what is it, about 6 to 10 armor. Aurelion Sol has always been problematic since his rework, in my opinion, and it's because of his ridiculous scaling. I think one part that goes underrated about his scaling is the fact that he gets so tanky between the items that he builds and just the stats that he has. And so, when you're talking late game and he's got 4,000 HP and shields from the Archangel Staff and just all kinds of crazy stuff. Having 100 less health will make him just slightly easier for your whole team to pop when you're spending all your ults on him.
Yeah, I think also not only is he tanky, but he's super mobile for a mage.
Yeah, surprisingly so.
And so if played well, it's not just that he's hard to kill via numbers, but he's hard to kill, because he doesn't stay in the same place. So yeah, I support some nerfs, but I mean, at some point they have to dial it down. But I also don't play Aurelion Sol, so I have no horse in the race.
All right, next up we have Ezreal, who's losing 2 attack damage. I always since he's not. Oh, okay, he's gaining 2 attack damage. Well, okay, I'll reverse my argument then. Anyway, I'm always okay if one of the champions it's not a hyper carry gets buffed. And basically I'm saying like Ezreal, Lucian, Corki, a couple others I'm forgetting. I'm okay whenever they get like a stat buff because they tend to fall off late game. Ezreal doesn't tend to be as good late game.
Yeah, there's definitely some fall off there. This is 2 AD, which will be about 3 extra damage every time he hits a Q. He'll get a few of those off during a fight. Obviously the auto attacks will be 2 more. All of his other AD scalings are actually on bonus AD. So it's just his auto and his Q that are really going to benefit from this. But given how many times he can hit you during a fight, even this tiny little 2 AD buff is not insignificant. This is nice for him. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, and the early game, like obviously like the trades and the farming and stuff, all that, the tiny numbers do help. And kind of like Chris said, where Ezreal rarely ever out damages your party. He usually outskills you. Like if played well is how he wins. It's not like Vayne, where it's like, ooh, I'm gonna tumble twice and then delete 5,000 hit points off somebody. It's like, yep, he sure did. So yeah, Ezreal, a little more damage. I think is good because the best Ezreal players are still going to be just as good as they were.
Awesome. Next up we got Garen, who, let me read this right. He did get a buff. For some reason I thought that was a nerf on Ezreal.
Oh yeah, I thought he got nerfed as well. No, this is a buff, yeah.
Isn't this one of like the 4 champs you play, Jason?
It's like one of the 4 champs I played top lane, Chrissy.
Okay.
Yeah, Garen really hasn't been in a great place as of very recently. And that's the first time that's true since probably the Juggernaut meta back in I think the end of season 5, back when Mordekaiser was a bot lane champ. So yeah, like Garen just the meta in the last few months hasn't been real kind to him. Mostly if you want like a fighter, you want kind of a tankier fighter, and Garen builds more damage these days. So, yeah, really, I think he needed maybe slight buffs to catch up with some of his Juggernaut contemporaries. This looks good to me.
I don't really agree. I think he's always. I'm sorry, Nate. I think he's always supposed to have been like a lane bully and then kind of an afterthought in the late game, and I don't think he's ever not been that. Especially, I think the new items have helped him actually stay a threat throughout the game. I don't think he's in a bad place right now.
I see two kinds of Garens in games. There's the super tanky Garen that cannot be killed and then doesn't matter in the end of the game because he's just like spinning around damaging lane creeps. Or there's the super damage Garen that most of the time gets like outskilled, but 1 in 5 times deletes the entire enemy team. So some more damage for tanky Garen, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, he like solo pushes on his own, like end game. Other than the rare super damage Garen, super tanky Garen's, I don't know, just like disappointing. Just like,
Super damage Garen is kind of what you're supposed to go these days.
Yeah, I've seen it work well, but not all the time.
Yeah, not all the time. I even see some go lethality, but usually they just build a lot of attack damage and some speed.
You definitely don't want lethality. You want to get the crit because that makes his E crit and spin more times and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, when the spin does consistent damage, it's a real problem for some teams.
I have to admit, I have taken Gale Force on him a few times and did some troll stuff.
Heck yeah,
that's Gale Force, huh?
I think Garen's one of the like you understand some trolling is going to happen. Like he's not Singed or Teemo, but like there's going to be some trolling on Garen.
I busted out when I lane against Kayle because it gives Kayle a super hard time.
Oh yeah, that would make it harder for her to escape from me, right?
Yeah, and she also has to either just pop her ult right away and then it sucks, or she has to wait and she basically just gets obliterated. It just puts her in a really hard position.
You gotta wait for Garen's ult to come down before you ult, or at least to be started.
Okay, next up we have Janna, and a long time ago, during the age of period where everyone started playing enchanters like they were all like Brand, this ability got nerfed a lot. That was like the same time that Soraka's were like maxing E and getting scorched and stuff.
Oh god, I remember
the whole like play every enchanter like it's Brand meta. A lot of that got pulled back on. So this is in reality probably simply a reversion of a change about 3 years ago, I wager. So this is cool. She's one of my favorites, honestly. And as far as the shield thing, I never was a fan of the whole like decaying shield thing. I understand it's done that so you have to like put it on at the right time, but it's like so inconsistent.
They're trying to make it less low effort, Chrissy.
I know, you're right about that, but it's so inconsistent because there's so few champions that have that mechanic on their shield.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think just a short shield is fine rather than a decay. Either way is fine by me. Janna, it really is one of those premier peel champs. Maybe the premier peel champ in the game. I think maybe Milio has a case to make now. Maybe Karma. But Janna might be the best peel champ in the game. You just lay down the Q, especially now that Glacial Augment works with it so well. You lay down a Q while you're being chased. They will not catch you if you hit them. Yeah, these are mostly buffs to Zephyr, which is kind of the most aggressive part of her kit. And I'm certainly fine with this. I don't think 10 more base damage or an AP ratio is really going to change the way that you play Janna, or really going to change her strength that much. But any buff for her is nice, because she's not in a great place right now compared to some of the other enchanters, as well as some of the tank supports.
Yeah, I really like Janna as a champ, but like you said, Jason, like she just isn't in the top tier. Her and Sona kind of have that same, like if played well, good for you, but otherwise, some of the damage output of some of the supports, or when the double AD carry bots not going anywhere.
Don't get him started on Sona.
Like
you're dissing my girl now.
I play Sona, I like Sona, but like she's just deleted so fast. Like the double AD carry bots, like Ashe support, just dumped on Enchanter. You're just like, it's so disappointing. So to try to anything that will push 280 carries out of being popular, I support.
And yeah, Jen is pretty good at that. Thun, on the other hand, great late game team fighter.
Oh yeah.
Not so good in lane.
I do think she's the best PL support in the game. Okay, next up we got Jarvan, and this is a nerf. Okay, this is he's actually been getting a slew of buffs over like the last 2 years, and I think every one of them was warranted, so I'm not even really a fan of them pulling back on anything just yet. He's kind of a really hit or miss champion who's not very good in the late game also, but I don't think he's like so bad that he is like terrible or anything. I think is just by the nature of how his ultimate functions, I think he's always good. I hope this isn't a response to like the people that play him like Talon though.
It's so well, it might be. It's so weird seeing, Jarvan build lethality and just basically like, see you at 1160 range and say, "Oh, hi there," and delete you. I was always a fan playing with and against the tankier Jarvans more. It's probably more fun to play Assassin Jarvan as Jarvan, like if you're the guy playing J4. But if you're one of the other 9 people in the game, I think the tank Jarvan is just a lot healthier and a lot more fun for the game. As far as what they were trying to do here, it's hard to tell because the attack damage growth is kind of more of a hit against the super aggro Jarvan, whereas the base damage reduction on Dragon Strike, that's more of a hit against the tank Jarvan. So maybe they're just trying to nerf him slightly overall.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jarvan's. I mean, the assassin Jarvan obviously gets the job done before he dies. But yeah, Jarvan hasn't been taking over any of my games with, flawless damage output and survivability. So I don't really know. These are pretty small numbers, so I don't know. Probably some protein nonsense.
Yeah, I'd be happy if he even continued to give another buff on his W. This guy is actually my go-to jungler when I get autofilled, and yeah, I think he's actually really fun, and I always play him like a fat slob, so I like it. More buffs on his W because it's pretty unimpactful. And that's his shield.
So, I usually see him played, heavy attack now, but I don't think it's wrong to play him like a fat slob.
There you go. Okay, next up we got Kayn, and this is specifically a nerf to blue Kayn. Okay. And I have noticed one thing just now that we're talking about this. Since they made that nerf to like Ravenous Hunter, I've been seeing people play red Kayn, but playing him at like lethality as if it was blue Kayn instead now, and just like kind of giving up on the whole healing thing, and just playing red Kayn as if it was blue Kayn lately.
Why not just play blue Kayn as if it were blue Kayn?
Yeah, that would be my argument too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the other team is like 4 melee, that might be hard. But besides that, just play blue Kayn like it's blue Kayn.
Yeah, but I guess that way you have like survivability still and some sustain, and you don't really lose that much damage because he still does a lot and scales really hard with AD.
The biggest thing here is the cooldown on Shadow Step in blue form is increased from 8 to 10 seconds. Pretty significant. It makes it harder for him to step into the drain twice or even 3 times during a single fight.
Yeah, that ability is already redonkulous in his blue
yeah,
form.
It gives me conniptions when I'm trying to catch him with like a Morgana bind or something. So I'm pretty happy about this. They've given Blue Kayn a lot of buffs in the last year and a half or so, if memory serves me right.
And Kayn's been a really strong jungler for a while. Like he's not struggling. Like he gets banned a lot, gets picked a lot. So yeah, a little make you plan a little better with your Shadow Step. Like I don't mind that at all.
It's a cool ability, but I feel like it's best like if you can only use it once a fight.
It's so crazy strong. Like
yeah,
unreal.
Okay, next up we got Kha'Zix. He got a buff in the last patch too to his like isolation range, so it's easier for him to get the bonus damage and bonus effects on his Q and W with that. And so this is another buff to his Q, which is on a super short cooldown, so this is probably more impactful than it looks.
Yeah, this is a decent little buff for Kha'Zix. I think you mentioned a moment ago that the range for isolation was increased recently. So together with Taste Your Fear, there's Taste Their Fear, Taste Your Fear, Taste Someone's Fear. This is a nice little package for the bug.
Yeah, his squishiness versus damage output, like in the early game, his ganks or his counter jungle, just fighting in your jungle when you're playing jungle, are brutal. But then toward the late game, every once in a while you see a Kha'Zix get in, kill some people, get out. Usually he gets in, kills someone, and dies. So, you know, it is more Kha'Zix for Kha'Zix, I suppose.
He's still better at getting out than Rengar's.
True.
Yeah, if I have to have a jungler that plays like that, I would much rather have Kha'Zix and Rengar than Shaco.
Oh, yeah. Shaco's just there to like cause trouble and leave and watch you all die.
Both of these are infinitely better than Shaco will ever be.
Yeah, Shaco's actually pretty good. He's just, you know, very triggering to have him on your team.
He's pretty good at wasting your time.
I'd say he's good. He's like an asymptotic line of like the best Shacos are phenomenal and everybody else is just dog shit.
And they won't stop going AP no matter how many times they nerf it.
That's correct.
Okay, next up we got Kog'Maw, and this might be the first time this has been buffed in like 12 years or even changed. I'm actually all for this because I feel like his passive doesn't really scale very well at all since it only scales on his level. And even at max, I just don't feel like it does a lot as the game goes on. I would be fine if even they gave this like a total health synergy or something silly, just for people to play around with. But I think it is really cool that they decided to buff this after like so many years of being unchanged. What do you think? I don't even think it's too much, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that they buffed the damage on his like, you know, useless in pro play passive. It's fun, I guess. When it says it grants ghosting when active, that just means it can move through units, not that it gets the extra speed like the Ghost Summoner spell, right?
Yes, it ignores collision size, yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of this actually might be the increased slow at level 1 on Voidus. I think that might actually be the best part. Also, mana reduction is really nice too because Kog'Maw is a mana-hungry champion, especially for an ADC. So, yeah, these are nice buffs for him. Kog'Maw's always in a hard spot in most metas, including this one, because he is so vulnerable, so squishy, he doesn't really have any way to protect himself. It doesn't really bring that much to the team besides, you know, very good damage and good range. So, you know, the lack of utility and the lack of self-peel puts him in a hard spot, especially since they've buffed a lot of the engage supports recently to kind of counter the double ADC strat. Well, it also kind of counters a legitimate Kog'Maw ADC. So it's good that he got buffed. I still don't think he's going to be, like, you know, A tier or S tier or anything like that. But, you know, he'll be... He's a situational champion, right? And in the situations he's good, he'll be even more good now. So that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, his lack of movement ability, we'll call it, as you say, self-peel, is just, I mean, like,
yeah.
Voidy's great, slow, whatever, like, you never get away. Kog'Maw always dies. And then after he dies, everyone can, for some reason, walk away from his Icathian Surprise and not get hurt by it. Unless you're, like, hiding under your turret and he runs to your turret. But otherwise, like, you can always get away from him. And so I think it should give him a speed up. Ghosting might not be enough. And I think it should do damage based on your missing health. Because it's all about the, like, I'm taking you with me. It's not like I did 300 damage to that guy who had 2,000 health. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, the point is you're supposed to be able to get away from it, right? You shouldn't need, like, a blink or your flash to escape it. But
no, but you also shouldn't be killing him at melee range. I mean, like, that's like the threat is like, ooh, if you go into melee Kog'Maw, he's going to run after you.
No, I think it should be able to always hit you if you're flash or you don't
If you
have
start
a blink,
next to him,
if you don't have a blink or a dash up, I think he should be able to always
Maybe
get
if
to
you
you.
start next to him or something like that. But
yeah, you need to walk away from him because he doesn't build
think-
fast walking boots. Like you just walk away.
the main way he's going to get you is if there are other teammates there, either to CC you or to distract you, where you have to, dodge their skill shots, and then there's also the Kog'Maw coming after you. I don't think he should always be able to get you, but I really, really like your idea, Nate, on the execute. Like,
Yeah, because even if I saw my own Kog'Maw die, I wouldn't CC someone so Kog'Maw hits them. Or, like I'd CC them so an alive person. Like I don't even notice when Kog'Maw dies on my team or their team unless I'm about to die. Then I'm like, oh, I gotta go.
Ooh,
yeah, I got Leona or something. You can go back in and stun him, and Kog'Maw can finish him off.
I just had an idea.
Yeah.
What about this? It does what it does now, but when it gets to level 6 and he blows up, it sprays his guts like in an AoE and slows everybody in the area. And then when he gets to level 11 and he blows up, it sprays his guts and snares everybody for like a second or so or such.
What is he?
Then when he gets to level 16, it stuns everybody instead of snares them.
Oh my god.
His guts.
And then it makes all of his teammates invulnerable, because why not?
YOLO Kog'Maw.
No, it would just, I don't know, just make his thing like not crazy as Scions, but like more useful for like your team after you die,
Yeah. It's something.
Or they could make it so the damage is based on the distance from his corpse that explodes. That way it would do way more if he's right on top of you.
I'd like that.
I bet every time he dies, he does more damage with his Cathian Surprise. So that people could, like, int 21 kills away and be like, no, I'm just scaling, bro.
Yeah, I expect he'll get reworked in the near future, to be honest.
Really? You think a reworker's coming for Kog?
He's just so one-dimensional and
he's very boring.
He's very boring and he's not fun to play.
The only outplay potentially has is if you go AP and just use your stupid ult all the time.
I mean, champions like Sivir and Ashe are way more exciting to play than Kog'Maw is. Like even Twitch.
You try to work his spells in while you're auto attacking.
That's the thing. His spells are boring, and they don't really, they just don't do enough. I don't know. He just sucks. I mean, he's really good because he's got the HP shred on his W, but every hyper carry is good when they're fed. So I don't know. I just think he's super boring. He doesn't really feel thematic with what he is, some void monster that's always spitting acid and all kinds of crazy nonsense. I don't know. Like, if he was more thematic, I think like every single one of his auto attacks should like reduce your armored MR by like 1 to 2.5 like infinitely. So the longer he attacks you, the more he like melts your shit or whatever. I don't know. That would be more interesting. Something like that. I think he just sucks.
He's boring. Conceptually, like the concept to delivery is boring, and then also playing him is a boring experience.
He's just so team dependent. Yeah, he's just boring.
Played against a Kog'Maw that was literally and very clearly scripting a few months ago, and he went like 25 and 1, I believe.
I'm not disputing how strong he can still be if he's fed.
I knew he was scripting because like I would use 2 skills with the same animation, and if one of them was a skill shot, he would try to dodge it like as it was coming out, and the other one, which was not a skill shot, he would just sit there and take it. And then like as soon as the skill shot like barely passed his model, he'd just like run straight at you and use every skill while he was also auto attacking at max range. It was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, next up we got Leona, and this I think is actually a pretty big buff for her. This the resistances on her W are just extremely potent early on, and in conjunction with Aftershock just make her really easy to trade with people in the early game. So I think this is actually like a really powerful buff, to be honest. And it was actually bigger than this at one point on the PvE. It was like 25, and then they reduced it to like 20 at level 1. But I still think this is like really strong.
Well, if this were a buff to like her Q of the same amount, it would be huge. The W is something you usually only get off once, even in a long skirmish in lane. So You're getting, 10 extra damage in all of your lane trades. That's nice. You're getting, a few extra resists. Early game, that's not worth a ton. Later on, even later on, 5 extra resistance is going to be maybe like, I don't know, 2 to 3% less damage that you take. It's nice. Leona's one of the few engage support tanks that didn't receive the buff a couple patches ago, I think, against the ADCs. So, seems fine that they're following on with it now. What do you think, Nat?
I like Leona a lot. I haven't played Leona as much lately, but definitely played a zillion Leona support games. And yeah, once you have level 3, once you have all 3 buttons, you can just E onto somebody, QW, follow them, and all the lane creeps hit you. Their AD carry shoots you, and you just walk away afterward once your W goes off.
Yeah,
So,
her 2 and her
you're
3
just
are so strong.
yeah, you're just like, oh man, like you want to make that better? That's great. You just made her more Leona. Because yeah, if they were like, oh, we're gonna make her E do more damage, I'd be like, that's dumb. But her W's, I don't know, like even though she's a lady of 1,000 stuns, the W's where it's at. So
Yeah, I think the
I dig it.
W
I
is the
support
most
it.
important part of her kit.
Yeah, I
Is it
usually
just-
max the W last, but I usually skill the W last, but max it first.
Sure. Yep. Agreed.
Okay, next up we got Lilia, and this is like a buff to only the healing component of this ability.
And her
This
clear,
is-
but yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. I'm actually pretty cool with this because the heal isn't too powerful, so I don't mind this too much. Even when you get it off on like a ton of people, you only see like a small little trickle of like HP coming in, so I'm okay if this gets like a big buff.
And I think there was a bigger buff to Lilia actually on this patch that isn't mentioned here. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, easier clear, much more healing against jungle monsters, especially if you're building a lot of AP. It's tripled. And then I would say this is probably about net neutral against champions. So for laner Lilia, this is not really a help, but for jungle Lilia, this is nice.
I have never played as Lilia, but when she's in the jungle, at least half the time she'll appear in a fight and just delete me or those around me, and it confuses me thoroughly. And so,
Like a very slow deletion, right?
so she like jumps in, does the circle swing, and some squishy person disappears. And so, yeah, I don't. In my experience, I didn't think Lilia needed any buffs, but I don't play as her, so I have nothing to speak on other than the times where she confusingly destroys me or my non-friends.
Yeah, the kind of the underrated part of what she does is her passive, the damage over time.
Mhm.
I mean, if she's fed, that'll that can even without the skill damage, which will be significant, just the passive can do like 20-30% of your max health from one hit. And then if she's running around you the whole time, oh boy.
Yeah, she's fun.
Yeah, she's actually, I think she's probably the best champ that Riot has made in the last 5 years, I would say.
I don't think she's better than Yone, but she is pretty cool.
I'm not a big fan of Yone. I think that Lily is the best they've done.
And Set's also really good. I think he's better than her too.
That's alright, he's just a little bit of a slobbering fool.
And Bel'Veth I think is pretty cool too.
Nah.
I would say she's way better than Renata or Milo though. In action.
That's not a fair comparison, sir. You're just punching down. I feel like you're least.
I don't think
so
anybody is giving them laurels on Renata Glask.
Oh, what a forgettable champ, other than how hideous her model is. Bel'Veth, like, the promise is awesome, but most games I'm just like, oh. But I'm like, man, this is going to be great.
That's a good way to put it. Oh, yeah, Cassante. He's okay.
Yeah, Cassante is actually pretty cool.
They've dialed him in to be a little more, like, impactful.
I'll give you that one. He's pretty good.
Oh, and what about Vex? You guys like her? I like her.
I don't dislike her, but
Yeah,
I'm not like, ooh, yeah.
You know, Johnny actually plays a mean Vex. He's actually probably the best person I've ever
Johnny
seen
still
play this.
exists.
I never really see her get played that much. She has like a really simplistic kit. I don't know. She's not very popular though. I don't think.
No.
I think she's cool though.
She's cool enough for me. Yeah.
She your spirit animal, Chrissy?
No, that would be like
It's either Shen or Ezreal.
Shen. Yeah, man. I like Ezreal, but he's not one of my favorites.
Don't you go comparing yourself to Shen.
Maybe Gragas.
Maybe Gragas.
Me like
Shen,
some
the
Gragas.
slowest walking ninja in the history of ninja.
Yeah, I love
Like
Shen.
what we think we are, what we
I love
really
Shen too.
are.
Yeah, I see you play that support Shen, always trying to make it work.
It does. It depends. I do like support Shen. Then the problem is, like, I'm in a team fight and somebody's, like taking turret aggro somewhere, and they're like, "Save me!" I'm like, no, I'm busy right now.
Yeah, the worst part about those champions is everyone expects you to always use your ultimate at the perfect time every single time, just by nature of having an ultimate like that, like
Right.
Soraka.
Or save them from terrible decisions. I'm like, ooh, that was on you.
Yeah, I haven't tried busting that out on support in a year or two. It's been a while since I gave that a go. I bet it's still okay though.
It's a good time. His like just dash and then the autos on the Q. The squishier supports don't understand what's going to happen to them until it happens.
Okie
Like Seraphine.
dokie.
Oh, get out of here.
Next up, we got Malphite. And I'm really disappointed to see this ability in particular get a nerf, because his armor ratios aren't really that great. So to see something like this, which is like kind of supposed to be his like consistent trading tool, his little built-in kind of Nashor's lazy shit thing, I'm really disappointed that they pulled back on this, because this I think just got buffed in like one of the last 2 or 3 patches also.
I mean, yeah, this has been buffed, in the last 3 years, probably half a dozen times or more. Like this skill in particular.
Even if that's the case, I still don't think it was anywhere near too strong, just by the fact that it doesn't scale like super well off of anything but armor. So.
I agree with you in that sense. I don't love that they targeted this skill. They could have targeted this Q instead. Usually as a laning Malphite, unless it's really like a wet noodle matchup, I'll max Q first, W second, E third. If you're going AP, usually you'll go like Q, E, W, I think.
Yeah, I'm sad they nerf this because AP Malphite is lame, and so as we talked about, why can't we just reinforce the cool shit that Malphite does? We have to like take away the things that make Malphite interesting and make Malphite himself.
It's really that cool. It's extra damage on his auto attacks.
But based on armor, like that's awesome. Like we talked about, more ratio should come from the stats that support the theme of that character. But man, top lane Malphite is like so easy to shit on. I know that because I play top lane Malphite, and some champs just give you a really bad day. So great, make him weaker.
And when his passive is up, I think this does more damage than usual, by the nature of how his W passive functions.
There are times I would max the W first. If
I do that all the time because I only play him.
Low threat matchup.
Yeah, I only play.
You do that.
Yeah,
100% of the time?
When I only pick him into something that's so effortlessly counterable by Malphite.
Got it.
So maxing your W first easily gives you like over 100 armor. It's like they can't even trade with you,
Yeah.
Even if you're running some dumb shit, like you can even get the alternative force we talk about. They can't even trade with you, and you don't even need to buy an armor item, basically.
If it's any top laner that has any range, not even like a ranged top laner, but just like one range skill, I'll usually take the Q and max that instead.
Yeah, they can't nerf the Q because then he'll have no lane presence against anything, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe give him a little more.
Next up we got Nidalee. This is like one of my most despised champions, so I don't even know if I want her to get a buff or I want her to get nerfed in the ground so they're forced to rework her. I don't know what I want. I just hate Nidalee because I kind of think of her and Shaco as like the same champ. They just want to waste my time. They just want to waste my time.
Yeah, there's like 8 of them that are the greatest League players who've ever lived, and then there's everybody else that's just wasting your time.
Yeah, like Nidalee is the worst champ in the game. Full stop. Nice that she got these tiny little buffs. She's still gonna be the worst champ in the game. Don't go picking Nidalee in somebody's ranked game. Don't ruin their game like that.
And
like you're gonna hit the spear. You're gonna try to jump in. You're gonna die.
Yeah. And there's no place for her. Like she's not a great jungler in clear or ganks, and then
Yeah.
there's no reason to have her in any lane. So it's like,
Yeah.
yes, Nidalee, you found a home nowhere.
Elise
Great.
is just the same
Well, it's
champion,
kinda
but
home
much
in
better.
play, especially now with these stat buffs. Like you can see her, get played in the pros more and lose in the pros every single game she's picked.
Is that
Yeah,
Trick 2G? Was that the Super Nidalee player a million years ago?
hot shot GG.
Shot GG.
Trick
that was
2G is the Udyr player.
it. Okay. They're all the same to me, but yeah, I just do remember it was season 2, season 3. Like
Yeah.
the Nidalee plays just brain breaking.
The first ever split pusher.
Wasn't Hotchachi a mid laner? Oh, she was a
Uh,
mid laner a bunch of years ago. Yeah. That's right. When she built tier.
What I'd like is if they emphasize more into letting her build like AD so she can play top and stay in Cougar form more often. Because once upon a time, she used to gain armor and MR and movement speed when she switched into Cougar form.
Yep.
And they took all that away. And I wish Oliver Stitt had way more like tank, like armor, MR, or health scalings or AD scalings, so she had more flexibility in how she wants to build, so she's not just a spear bot.
Right. Yeah, they definitely got to give her more reward for going into the Cougar form and getting up close.
When I look at her, I'm just like, she's exactly like Elise, except Elise is better. And Elise sucks too.
Not nearly as much as in Italy, though. That's for sure.
They both have like the identical problem, I think. But you're right. I think Nidalee's the worst.
Nidalee Steer stunned you. She might be like close to what Elise does.
Yep.
I think I would rather have Ivern. Would you rather have Ivern or Nidalee as your jungler?
Ivern.
Oh man, that's tough.
At least Ivern's
How's
disruptive.
Ivern building? What's
At least,
Ivern building?
let's just say he's building his goof town support shit that for some reason people build on him.
Oh.
At least he's still disruptive between like Daisy and his Q. So
Yeah,
Put it this
yeah.
way, I'd almost rather have an
Counter jungles.
AFKing Ivern, like a soft AFK Ivern, because at least he will take a jungle camp, and then I'll be able to get it as well. Nidalee will take her own jungle camp, and then we'll just walk in and hand the enemy 300 gold.
all right,
Give me Ivern all day.
enough hating on Nidalee.
All right.
Next up, we got Poppy, and this is actually a pretty big buff for how low the cooldown on this is. And another thing is this ability hits twice, so this is basically a 2% buff, essentially. This is like the ability that allows her to build nothing but tank and still deal a ton of damage. So this is a huge buff. And then the Steadfast Presence. This is actually deceptive too, because this increases by a certain percentage based on her missing health too. So this is just huge buffs, I think, for Poppy all around. This probably is the biggest buff in this patch.
So what I want to say about this is that Nidalee sucks. What do you think, Nit?
About you're saying Nidalee sucks is your answer to Poppy. Poppy is one of the strangest champs in the game because when she's on the enemy team, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like she'll never die, but I'll be fine. But when she's on my team, I'm like, that's good. Like she is the most middle of the road champ. Maybe because you like can't screw it up. I don't know. But yeah, I'm never super threatened when somebody takes a Poppy. Like when there's some champs and I see them, just like, oh god, that sucks. Like Master Yi, I'm just like, why?
Okay.
But then Poppy, I'm always like, at ease, whether she's on my team or the enemy team. I'm just like, fine, that's a fair choice.
Yeah, I often see her get fed early game and then not really be able to, make anything out of that lead later on.
Yeah.
But I enjoy having a Poppy on my team. It's very supportive, very disruptive, very protective. It's a fun champ to have around.
I think she's really good. She's surprisingly deceptively difficult to 1v1 in the top lane. She has so much built-in damage into her kit without buying any damage that she's actually come be very surprisingly frustrating to trade with.
They've taken out like 40% of the damage in her kit since she first got reworked.
Even if that's the case, the percentage on your Q, as long as that stays, it'll always do a lot.
It's reliable, especially against top laners, because top laners are usually other bruisers.
Yeah. I mean, back in the early days after her big rework, like people didn't realize it right away, but it kind of developed over like the next like year or so. That like, wow, Poppy actually does a shit ton of damage, and they've taken that out like little piece by little piece over the years to where she definitely can't do what she used to do, but like you said, can do deceptively high amounts of damage in a duel.
Okie dokie. Next up, we got Rakan, and I actually have a friend of mine where this is like his favorite champion right now. So
It's funny because you hate Rakan.
yeah, I'm not really a fan. I think of him kind of like Bard, except it's like they all both of them like do things, but I don't think either of them are very good at any one thing. They're kind of just trying to do too many different things. And like he's obviously not as good at Leona as like engaging, and he's obviously nowhere near as good as an enchanter at like healing or shielding. So I don't know. I just don't think he's super good, to be honest.
Yeah, he's not in a terrible place, and I do think he has more of a role than you do. Because he is pretty good at engaging. And then, unlike most of the other champs that are really good at engaging, like Leona, like you said, Rakan has a much easier time getting out after he engages. Like, even if it's not a clear win of a fight, he can survive by getting out after he gets in.
That's what I was going to say. He's very escapey. So if you play him poorly, you can still get out and not die.
You are kind of relying on your teammates, right? Like,
oh yeah, they can bail on you.
I engage, and then like my teammate is like running away at the same time I am. I'm like, yo, right here. Oh, no, come on, walk towards me for a second, and then they walk towards me at the last second, and the auto attack is already in the air, and I'm dead.
Think he's too good though?
No, I didn't think he was too good. I'm surprised to see this. I thought he was kind of in an average place.
Yeah, I don't know what games these people are playing.
I don't know why they specifically targeted Rakan.
Yeah, I have not seen Rakan take over. I mean, in playing League.
Rakan take over.
Okay. Xayah, his super buffed clone champion.
I don't even think his synergy with her is that good. I think he's better with other AD carries, to be honest.
Yeah, it's awful.
I mean, he's seen with Xayah uncommonly enough that they just they've stopped adding the special recalls for the new Xayah and Rakan skins.
That's funny.
When they're recalling together, they're like, yeah, not worth it. People don't play them together anymore.
Yeah, no one's trying. No one's that dedicated.
No one will ever appreciate our hard work.
Right. It's also not good. So yeah.
Also, we can make a lot more money just selling Ezreal skins.
Yeah.
All right, almost towards the end here, and I was noticed while I was glancing down, there's this humorous bug where apparently Twitch could damage himself with his own ultimate if he was affected by Renata's ultimate. You guys see that? That's interesting. How do you guys think that functions?
Hello? I'm guessing it probably functions by spray and pray because it's not truly an auto attack, or at least isn't treated like one in a lot of ways. Is looking for like the nearest champion, and it's more of like a hard code on the Berserk to look for the nearest champion, rather than using the code that was already in the standard auto attack behavior. Would be my guess. But the nearest champion in that case, when he fires it, will be Twitch.
Best part is Twitch does a lot of damage and has no health, so I bet that's a short bug.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think our last change here.
No, there's a few items, but
oh,
you're right. The big one is the Cosmic Drive.
Okay, this is actually a pretty big deal, I think. This is making it more consistent. This is going to actually, I think, really up this item's buy value after it lost the health that it used to have. It's gaining more AP, but now you can get even more movement speed, and you can keep the movement speed up just by like staying in combat and fighting and stuff. So I can't remember, but there was one champion I was really thinking on how silly this could be. And then I was thinking that if you combine this with like Spear of Sojin's passive, you could have like a shitload of movement speed.
Oh yeah, that would give you a bunch of move. Yeah, so you get 10 more ability power at no cost. And they changed the passive so that basically each time you damage the enemy champion, you get more and more movement speed. Up to a total of 20% at 4 stacks. That's definitely a buff over what was there, right? It was basically 0-0-15, now it's 2-5-7-20. You don't get the 40 ability power, but I don't think that's a huge deal. You're already getting 10 from the very start just with the buff here. I was trying to think of like obviously like battle mages like Rise and Cassiopeia will love it, but I was trying to think like who else might like this, even if it's like a 6 item. I was thinking maybe like Talia. Does she still get the half cooldown reduction if she fires on worked ground on her Q?
You know, I don't think so. I think now she just fires a bolter if she's on it instead of the regular
Yeah,
thing.
okay. You don't get the half cooldown reduction. Although the way it's worded, damaging a champion generates the stack unless it's damaged over time. So if you like hit somebody with like all 5 plonks of your Talia Q, does that count for 4 stacks and you have your 20% movement speed?
Hmm.
You know, or if you like
No,
Q
I
someone.
think this part where it says 1.5 seconds for the next 5 seconds, I think there's a gradual build up time no matter what. I don't think it's just instances of damage. I think it has to charge up over a period of time.
Oh, okay. You get 1 stack
makes sense.
every 1.5 seconds. But do you get like the 4 stacks guaranteed if you like hit the entire Talia Q or like a Kaisa Q or something like that?
The way this is worded, I think you just have to hit someone once with one thing, and
Yeah.
you'll instantly get at least the 10. And then I guess you get the
But
20.
yeah.
Then I guess you get the 20 just for like a little bit, unless you keep doing it. I don't know, actually. That's what it looks like, though. But,
Yeah,
I feel like this would be insanely dope on like Vladimir and a few others.
Vladimir, I could see it. Yeah. Even something like a Kag'Maw. What do you think?
I feel like it'd be kind of awkward to build this on him, but this is so much movement speed, and movement speed is outplay potential that I think you could to have this much movement speed like kept up with things that are also like phase rush in the game. I think there's a lot of champions that this could be good on. Even something silly like Hecarim, this would give him like a permanent AD on his passive, as dumb as it sounds.
You don't need to damage them with abilities. You just damage them in any way, at least according to the text.
What were you gonna say, Nate?
I say, as Jason was saying, Cassiopeia, like when you get to the highest rank of is it E the Fangs, like you could keep it up indefinitely and they're not going to get away, and it does so much damage.
Landing your Q gives you movement speed on that champion too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Aurelion Sol.
Real dumb.
Probably not Aurelion Sol because he's already either standing still with his Q or he's already in motion with his E. So it probably wouldn't be good on Aurelion Sol.
Well, he can move with his Q.
He can only move with his Q if he's in his E though.
Oh, okay.
So he's already like gliding about, or he's already stationary. So no, that would be crazy if he could just move while queuing without his E.
Yeah, there's a lot of champions that I think, you know, if you have like a really short cooldown and you can use the AP, this might be a good 5th or 6th item, you know, even if you're not a battle match.
Probably stuff like Akali would be really good on this too, or something.
Oh, absolutely, Akali, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Even something like Mordekaiser, maybe, you know.
I don't know if I believe in the Kaiser with this.
Well, people build, Nashor's Tooth on him. That doesn't have health either. So.
That's true.
Yeah, getting away from Mordekaiser is usually the best way to fight him. So he walks faster than you.
It's
just grab you and pull you toward him.
How are you going to get the fourth damage off?
That's the thing. The way this is written, at least, I think you just hit them once, and then you eventually have to wait 5 seconds, and then you just get the effect once. I don't think you have to do more than one instance of damage to them.
Oh, you don't need to hit them with 4 different damage packets.
No, I think one just starts the charge up, I think, the way this is worded. And then if you want to get it again, you got to do a second one eventually.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I could see Kaiser being good then.
And with the way his passive function, he would have this on like full stop,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now we got some other stuff down here. What does this Frozen Heart change even mean, and is this thing worth buying? Is this just lower the threshold so it's like mitigates more, or is this somehow a nerf?
No. It's a nerf. But it's a small one. Basically, like, let's say you are a Cho'Gath, right, with 8,000 HP, and you're being attacked by, like, a Soraka banana. Okay? It's going to do, like, 63 damage in the late game. So, the Frozen Heart, basically after all the damage is mitigated, it negates 5 plus 3 per 1,000 maximum health, essentially. So, it'll negate like maybe like 30, 35 damage. Sorry. If you have 8,000 HP as Cho'Gath, it would be about 30 damage. Now 30 is half of 63. What it was before was that you could only negate 40% of that 63. So the actual effect from Frozen Heart would be 24 damage off of that auto attack. Now they're reducing it to 20% of the total damage. So now it's 12 or 13 damage is the most it can negate. For most champs that aren't like, Cho'Gath level tanks, against like, enchanters or mages sending a puny little auto with you, you're not going to negate 20% of the auto attack anyway. So this is only a small nerf, but it is a nerf through and through.
Wow. I can't believe they found a way to make this cool little passive worse on this and Randuin's.
I agree. I don't see why they even need the cap in the first place, honestly.
I know.
This is just for auto attack damage.
It would be cool if you were just immune to his support's attack in the late game. Like, okay.
Oh, like it just reduced all autos by 75 or something?
Well, whoop-de-doo. I mean, should not a Cho'Gath be basically immune to Soraka's auto attacks in the late game? Come on.
I mean, if Soraka's doing 100% of her normal damage with her auto attack, Cho'Gath is immune to Soraka's auto attack. He'll regen it in like 1 second.
Still.
Okay, and then he'll laugh at her with a Control 4 taunt.
What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I don't know who was complaining. Like, man, this 40% is unreal. Because I don't even see, Cho'Gath.
I never even see these items get bought that much anyway.
Maybe Malphite. Like, it's a very short list of people who buy Frozen Heart, and then Radowin's Omen, I would say even fewer. So, yeah, I don't know who was tipping the scales that, like, what games were becoming, so impossible to play against.
Lane or Leona, together with W, OP.
And I'd even go as far, they should make it so you can buy both of these items and the effects should just stack.
Sure, you're never going to kill anybody.
Even I'm okay with that.
So I think that'd be cool. Making them stack would like bring up both of the items' profiles. It's like, I can get this big flat damage reduction if I build
Frozen
both.
Heart has no
ones.
health, so it's such a commitment. Like, it's the I need to stop, all these fast fucking attackers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer. I wish they would do more with those items. I'm so glad they put the old critical strike reduction back on Randuin's Omen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that too.
That was so much better than what it was for like a year or so. Alright, well that does it for 13.8. Clocked in on just under an hour, so I guess that's good.
We did it. First time ever.
Well played, team.
Alright, you guys have anything to say? I think the reason this was so short is because that MSI thing is coming up. I don't know.
Yeah, they tend to be very conservative with their changes before a major tournament. Except for that one season they bring in the whole Juggernaut meta.
Alright, well, I'll see you guys next time.
Alright, good luck on the Rift, guys.
Take care.